Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.
Do you think I should put the dark glasses back on, Pete?
No.
I don't know.
No, people want to see your eyes, Jeremy.
Yeah, I think eyes are important. You learn a
Window
lot from
to the
people.
soul, don't they say?
The windows to the soul. Yeah. The birds cheeping out the garage door.
Just
Nice.
beautiful. Yeah.
Hi everybody, welcome to the garage. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. And I did find that John Lewis ad we played for you yesterday, the Telstra ad for Christmas, which I think is very sweet. Now, I don't know whether that was artificial intelligence or just clever blue screening or, special effects or whatever it was. But I think a lovely ad. But this one, John Lewis is famous, and I'm quite sure Telstra is trying to be famous for the same thing as having a lovely Christmas ad every year on which they spend a lot of money and don't overtly promote their product. It's just a tradition, I suppose. But we'll run that at the end of today's show. It's about the bear and the hare. The bear and the hare. Those demonstrators in London, don't know if you saw it, hundreds of thousands of people, they estimate 300,000, demonstrated against the war in Gaza. Well, I would demonstrate against war, period. But there's more to this than meets the eye. You see, there are, of course, just under 4 million Muslims in Britain. This war, of course, has got nothing to do with Britain. Unfortunately, when I say unfortunately, I mean colonialism had an upside and a downside. The downside for Britain was that because of British history, a lot of people had the right to come at the end of colonisation to Great Britain. They had the right to come, and nobody had the thought at the time to say, listen, please, you're welcome, you're British, welcome, but leave the baggage behind. Leave the hate and the prejudice behind. I find all of this very sad. I've spoken to people, English people or people who've known England for many, many years, who say that they've gone back and they just couldn't recognise it. Couldn't recognise it. If you care to investigate, and I do a lot of digging, it's not that I'm bored or anything, it's just that I do a lot of digging. If you investigate, there are only 16.1 million Jews in the world. 16.1 million Jews, or 0.2% of the 8 billion population on the planet. And in 2020, that's the latest figure I could find, there were 1.9, just under 2 billion Muslims. There is only one tiny Jewish state, Israel. There are hundreds and hundreds of Islamic countries, most quite wealthy. Quite wealthy. Why not just leave Israel alone? Nearly 2 billion against 16 million? Is there a bigger example of bullying? I can't think of one. These people say quite loudly, oh, some duck and weave and don't quite want to say it, but these people really feel that Israel should not exist. Shouldn't exist. Islam says, or it seems to have, the problem, even with the existence of Israel. Why? Why? Here's an idea. In Singapore, a city-state that I really admire, they have banned the flying of and the carrying of any foreign flag. Flags, you see, are rallying points. People use flags in a I don't know, you could say a patriotic sense or context, a disruptive sense, a rallying sense. I think that's a clever idea. Ban the flying of everything but the national flag. And in our case, of course, it's the Australian flag. It's not the Aboriginal flag, and it is not the Torres Strait Islander flag. I think that could be a great idea. Yeah. Anyway, something else I saw, which I thought was worthwhile bringing up. Lobbyists are not governed by law. I didn't know that. There is something like a code of conduct, code of practice. Now, this is wrong. This is really wrong. Lobbying goes on all over the world, but it is regulated. It is controlled. Let's just look at these other countries and take the best controls they have, bring them back here, debate them, and install the ones that are most applicable here to the benefit of our country. And indeed, of course, our politicians, who really must get sick of lobbyists. Labor, by the way, vowed to ban lobbyists. I can't count the number of Labor and to a lesser extent Liberal, but nevertheless the Labor's side of things is certainly stronger in the lobbying department. The number of Labor apparatchiks who go into the lobbying business is quite incredible. Anyway, the Labor Party promised to do away with lobbyists. They never did. This is grubby, if not corrupt. Because you don't know, people are calling up favours and you don't know who knows who and what's behind it all, and what are they saying behind that closed door, and what's the quid pro quo. No, look, it's not good. It's sort of part of life, but regulate it. Make sure you know what's going on. Transparency, sunlight. Speaking of Labor, we know that Anthony Albanese is a high flyer, but I had no idea how high. He's been to the moon. He has been to the moon. Since becoming Prime Minister, he has travelled 384,400 kilometres, the equivalent to travelling to the moon.
Pity he didn't stay there.
No, it wasn't straight up. He took the scenic route, Airbus Albo. Well, that doesn't really do him justice. No. Health authorities here, they've been sounding a warning. I mentioned it to you yesterday. Let me talk about it briefly again. 500,000 kids vaping every day. This is a result of that government stuff-up. As a measure or remedy to help people quit smoking, vapes should only have been available on prescription. But somebody forgot to dot that I and cross that T. Can we rectify that? Or is the horse out of the barn? I wonder what the advertising science, Pete, have you ever noticed these ads for fast food, particularly at dinner time?
Yes.
What's the science behind that?
Well, they get me sucked in.
Yeah, but I'm imagining people have had their meal and the edge has been taken off one's hunger. So what's the point of advertising fast food outlets at 6 to 7:30?
Well, that's
prime
true.
time.
That's true. Silly.
Yeah, well, I think it's silly anyway. And it's the most expensive time of the day to advertise, of course. And the other thing I was wondering about was Black Friday. These Black Friday. Well, what is Black Friday? Do you know, Pete?
No idea.
Black Friday. It's coming up, and people are talking about it, and people say that it is even better for the retailers than Boxing Day sales. But why would you associate Black Friday with a bargain? Don't know. You won't find a bargain here. Well, I don't mean here. The wellness industry. The wellness industry. It's big. You know, it is worth $3 trillion. I want to talk to you maybe on Friday, tomorrow, when we're talking at the dining room table. But we will talk about it in the court of public opinion along the way, about charities and not-for-profits, which, like the wellness industry, is big business. Charities are $200 billion a year. And my gripe with them is that no one seems to take the slightest interest in where the money goes. It's a little bit like the Aboriginal industry, where $40 billion goes somewhere. We, the taxpayers, give it, but we don't see the benefit of it. And nobody seems to want to go looking. But the charities and not-for-profit area needs a very simple law, which simply says, before I pull out my wallet and put $5 on the tray or whatever, or buy the ticket, or the law simply says that that charity collector must tell me how much of the dollar I give goes to the cause for which it is collected. Is that so hard? Well, yes, it is. If not 1 cent goes to the cause for which it is being collected. And do you know the other funny thing? I was talking to Sarah Dane around the table last Friday. She didn't know this. South Australian member of the Upper House. She didn't know this. There is no law that says that a charity has to give 1 single cent that it collects to the cause for which it is collecting. And can I find a single politician or person who is saying, well, that's wrong, we've got to fix that? Anyway, back to wellness, just quickly, if I have time, Pete.
Yeah.
Wellness, the wellness industry, $3 trillion a year, full of, I think, trickery and fraud and crystals and mumbo-jumbo, a place more for the gullible, if you ask me. Most of it really is kind of a rip-off. And then, of course, there's the $5 to $6 billion supplement business. That's every year we buy things. I mean, I think we probably have the most prestigious, valuable we in the world. Vitamins and minerals. You see, we all want to be able to just take a pill and make it good, make it better. And that's true. Now, if I could reach down here and get my dates, because I just dropped them, I'm sorry. Come on. Come on, come on, come on. Yep, there we go. Happy birthday or happy wedding anniversary if it's a day of celebration. Cliff Richard recorded Bachelor Boy on this day in 1962. Good song. He's still a good singer and he's still a bachelor. He's still a bachelor. I like him. He used to come on my program regularly. One of the most charming, big-name entertainers you could find in the world. Delightful man. See if I can find something else interesting. On this day in 1985, Stump Jumpers, which is a new breed of Australian. The Stump Jumpers. Didn't we have a plough?
Yeah, stump jump plough.
Yeah. Well, was that terribly revolutionary or something?
Well, it was an Australian invention.
It was an Australian invention.
I guess.
So when the farmer came across the stump, he didn't have to worry about going round it, he just went over it.
I assume, yeah.
Ah. Anyway, the book was called Stump Jumpers, a book by Neil Lawrence and Steve Bunk on prominent Australians, published by Hale and Ironmonger, recommended retail price of $19.95. I wonder if I have it. They'd have probably sent me a review copy of it back in 1985. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? Stump Jumpers. Yep. Arthur Askey died, 82 years of age. Comedian, born in Liverpool. 1982 he died. Oh, Martin Van Aaron died. He was only 13 months old. I remember him. 1984 was the year, and this was the day he died. I remember her mother rang me at 5DN, and they were trying desperately to raise money to take Martin to America to get him a liver transplant. And we did all sorts of things. I had a restaurant at the time and we threw that open and we ran fundraisers, and I talked to the health minister, John, I can't think of his name. And we were trying all sorts of things. And eventually somebody from the Royal Adelaide Hospital rang and said, well, instead of raising money to send Martin to America, why don't you raise money to establish a liver transplant unit here in Adelaide, because there isn't one in Australia, and we could do it. And I remember I went back to the minister, and when I asked the doctor how much it would cost, he said about $200,000, which is what we were trying to raise to send Martin off to America. Anyway, the minister said, oh no, it would cost a lot more than $200,000, but I'll inquire. He did. Found out that the doctor was right, and we set about starting a liver transplant unit at the Royal Adelaide Hospital. Unfortunately, Martin died before we could get it going, and then Brisbane announced that it was going to have a liver transplant unit, and there wasn't room in Australia for two, so we went on to create the Child Health Research Unit with the money that had been collected for Martin. And I tell you without hesitation that every cent of every dollar that was collected went to that cause. No administration, no leased Mercedes and BMWs, Anyway, that was just a little side thing, sad side thing. Qantas was founded as the Queensland and Northern Territory Aerial Service, with headquarters at Winton, Queensland. Paid up capital of £6,032. The oldest airline in the British-speaking world. I think KLM is perhaps the oldest one in the world. But happy birthday, Qantas. Happy birthday. Clark Gable was born in... Clark Gable died in 1960. He won the Academy Award in 1934 for his role in It Happened One Night. I don't know the movie. 1960. I would have thought he would have won it for Gone with the Wind. Anyway. Queenie Ashton, great radio actress, was born in 1903. Oklahoma became the 45th state of the United States of America in 1907. Oh, and the ANZ Bank announced a profit, $175 million for the year. This year it was about 7.2 billion, I think. To the time, which was in 1981, the biggest ever profit of an Australian bank. Yet all those other banks, you know, there's the NAB and the Westpac, and there's the ANZ, and all the shares are around $24 a share. And it's only the Commonwealth Bank that has shares that oscillate between about $95 and $110 a share. I don't know what that tells you. Oh, and Slim Dusty recorded his first song. I don't know what it was. 1946. Wasn't Pub with No Beer. But
It wasn't Old Shep, was it?
oh no, well, it could have been, I suppose. But that was Elvis Presley.
I thought it was Elvis Presley. Yeah.
I don't know. 1946 is going way, way back. Kept singing all the way to the end. The great Slim Dusty. Anyway, I'll leave you with those dates, and we'll throw to this lovely John Lewis Christmas commercial about the hare and the bear. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux, Peter Clayton behind the camera, and we'll be with you tomorrow from... I've got nothing planned. It's been one of those strange weeks. Something will come to mind, or you can tune in just to see how much egg I have on my face. I don't know, but we'll be there at the dining room table, 9 o'clock until 12, live streaming, jeremycordeaux.com. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.
I walked across an empty land. I knew the pathway like the back of my hand. I felt the earth beneath my feet, sat by the river and need someone to rely on. So tell me when you're gonna let me in. I'm getting tired and I need somewhere to begin. And if you have a minute, why don't we go talk about it somewhere only we know? 'Cause this could be the end of everything. So why don't we go somewhere only we know? Somewhere only we know.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.